Today is the 31st of May, and over the last 3 weeks we have been changing our polytunnel growing spaces over from winter crops to all of our summer crops, and we have now got both of our main tunnels fully planted. So let's go and take a look at what is happening in these amazing growing spaces. So this is Polytunnel 1, and in here we have still got a bit of a mix of some of the winter crops still left over that we are harvesting, and also our summer crops which are growing up either in their own space or interplanted with some of the winter crops in some places. So at the top of our tunnels we always have our trusty Cape gooseberries. And we've been growing Cape gooseberries in these tunnels for 3 or 4 years now. And what is really interesting that we notice is we have quite a temperature difference, a climate difference between the top and the bottom of these tunnels where we are on a slope. And the Cape gooseberries at the top of our polytunnel nearly always overwinter. But yet for the last 2 years in a row, the Cape gooseberry plants that we have in the 2 corners at the bottom, we always end up replacing for new plants. And I'm not sure if that is a temperature difference or if it could be something to do with moisture, because we're quite low on the water table here on this piece of land, and we get a lot of water pooling down the lower end. Now this winter was really quite mild, yet we still lost our Cape gooseberries at the bottom. So I'm thinking this year maybe they don't like having wet feet, and maybe that's what it is. But they always grow amazingly for us in this tunnel and make a great harvest towards the end of the summer. New Zealand spinach is this beautiful big patch of fresh greens that I have here, and we have been harvesting New Zealand spinach from this tunnel for at least 6 weeks. I planted New Zealand spinach in here 3 years ago, and I haven't replanted it since. Now I have noticed recently some seed sowers market this as being perennial. And now I'm not entirely sure that is correct, certainly in our UK climate anyway. I find that the New Zealand spinach, even in this polytunnel where it's slightly more protected, actually regrows from seed every year. It self-seeds prolifically at the end of the season, and then there is always plenty of plants coming back through. So it kind of seems like it's perennial, but certainly in my experience it grows back from seed. I did also used to grow this in New Zealand, and on milder winters it would stay right through and also grow back from seed as well. But certainly in the UK I have it outside as well. It doesn't overwinter, certainly in my experience here in the south, but it is an amazing crop. It comes back early. The benefit of this compared to normal spinach is that it is a lot more heat tolerant as well. So it's really happy even in the tunnel, which currently now we're just above 30 degrees in here already this morning, and on sunny days already we are probably getting in excess of the high 40s or 50 degrees at times in here. So as you can see down here, we did a winter crop, an overwintered crop of broad beans, and we have been harvesting these broad beans from in here since the very beginning of May, and we have still got a couple of really good harvests to come. It's the first time I grew broad beans in the polytunnel, and I will definitely do it again because it is a great way to bridge the hungry gap. And May is often a month where crops are at their shortest supply, fresh crops are at their shortest supply. We're now harvesting our outdoor broad beans as well, so we've got a bit of a changeover, but it's certainly brought the harvest forward a good few weeks. And I think actually if I sowed them earlier again, probably in November, and got them in the ground earlier than last year, I reckon we could maybe even be harvesting these in April. They have been such a welcome crop. And now it is quite hard to see, but interplanted between all of these broad beans, I have actually already got our summer crops. So here we've got a capsicum or a sweet pepper. And then here and here you can see we've got aubergines coming up. And then at the back here, which will create our ground cover for this side of the polytunnel, I've got watermelon growing. And I actually feel that these plants have really benefited from the dappled shade that the broad beans have given them. I did cut the broad beans back quite a bit when I planted out the new summer crops, but I wasn't sure if they were going to cast too much shade. But I don't know whether it's our homemade compost that we've been using this year, but these new plantings have really leapt into life a lot quicker than I thought they would. So I think they are enjoying being coupled with the beans. So again, this is something I will do in the future. So the whole of this side is pretty much sweet peppers, aubergines, watermelons, and then the beans that we will finish probably after 1 or 2 more good harvests. We've got some things like self-seeded borage, which always pop up here, and I do have to be quite firm with cutting the borage back because it will get massive and take over everything. But I do love having it in here. The flowers are beautiful, the flowers are edible, the roots are really good at bringing up nutrients from deep in the soil, so that is another really good benefit, and it just looks lovely. So that is pretty much this side of the tunnel. At the bottom we have this lovely patch of nasturtium, and one of the first gardening expressions that I ever actually learned was that you only need to plant a nasturtium once, and this has been completely true in the tunnel here. I only planted nasturtiums in here once, and for the last 3 or 4 years I've had more nasturtiums coming back than I know what to do with. Again, I do have to weed them out and control them a little bit, but they look absolutely beautiful. The flowers are edible, the leaves are edible, they make great spicy additions to salads, and also when they set seed you can also harvest the seeds and pickle them and use them a bit like capers. They are an amazing multifunctional plant, and again they look beautiful just like this borage here. So I've got a lovely array of self-seeded flowers at the bottom of this tunnel. Through the middle here we always grow our tomato plants, and then on this side here closest to me, all the way up this side of the tunnel, I have got holy basil growing. And holy basil is an adaptogenic herb which is highly prized in some countries, and I really value it. I love the flavour that it gives, and I use it all the time in teas and tinctures, and I absolutely love it. So we harvest it mainly to dry, and then we have a supply of beautiful adaptogenic herbal tea all through the winter months, well, all through all months of the year. It's something that I literally drink on a daily basis. So just down in the corner behind where Dan is, we've got another patch of New Zealand spinach which was self-seeded. Again, more beautiful borage, just looks so wild and lovely. Here you can see this is the new Cape gooseberry. This is one of the new ones that I grew from seed from this year. We found last year that the plants actually catch up and they end up being the same size as each other, but the fruits from the new plants, the new plantings, were actually much bigger than the fruits from the plants that we've had in the ground for sort of 3 or 4 years now. Both of them overall were really productive, but that was just an interesting thing that we noticed. Excuse me. So this year I have planted more of a variety of tomatoes in this tunnel than previous years. So in this row we have got a combination of sun gold tomatoes, then we've got Berner Rose, which is a beautiful heritage variety that we've not tried before. we've got Brad's Atomic Grape, which I am really excited to see how that turns out. From the description and the pictures, it looks really fun and exciting. And then I have also got my old favourite Purple Cherokee, which is normally really beautiful for its flavour, really deep flavour, which we absolutely love. But last year, being that that's a big beefsteak tomato, I felt that we didn't get the best use of space for the volume that it created. It wasn't the best year for tomatoes in here last year, so that's one of the reasons why I decided to really mix it up this year and try lots of different varieties to make sure we are always maximising the use of these amazing polytunnels, because they really do give you just a little bit more protection and better climate to maximise all these crops, which are normally a little bit marginal for us here in the UK. In front of the tomatoes along this side, I've actually got some more holy basil dotted through here because I had some spare plants and I still had space. But then I've also got a mixture of mainly hot chilies. I've got cayenne pepper, jalapeno, and then down this end I have got some baby, these are mini orange bell peppers, and they're really, really cute for salads. They crop a little bit earlier than the full-size sweet peppers that we grow. So yeah, we found them really good value, so we've got a few plants of those in this tunnel as well. And as you can see, more self-seeded nasturtium popping through here. And all of our marigolds are planted through the middle as companion plants for the tomatoes. Yeah, and they look really beautiful as well. This side of the polytunnel, again, is a mixture of winter crops that are still in the ground and also summer crops that are growing up through and getting ready to go. Down this end of the tunnel here, we've got some trombone courgettes, and if you've been watching our channel for a while, you know that we absolutely love this crop. You can harvest them as summer courgettes, you can let them harden off and store them as winter squash. They are absolutely amazing, and if you would like to see more about this crop, then check out the video that I'll link in here. A winter crop that I grew in here also that has been a massive success, and I will definitely do it again, have been spring onions. And I sowed these spring onions in September. They got planted out in October along with all of our salad crops that we fill this polytunnel with in winter. And through the back end of the winter, we have had a wonderful harvest of spring onions. And it's a great time to have some fresh onions, because often by the end of winter, any stored onions are either used up or starting to go past their best. Often garlic supplies are getting low by this time of year. And what has happened now, the spring onions that we didn't get to and use as spring onions have now bulbed up, and we are harvesting these and using them as beautiful, fresh, full-size bulbing onions. And that is amazing to be having fresh onions in May, again during the hungry gap. Amazingly valuable, definitely doing that again. We've got some kales along the front here, which again left from our winter plantings, and these kales have been amazing. They actually got chewed off by rats that we had, rats in the polytunnel all over winter. If you've been following what we do here, I didn't think they were going to come back, and they literally have grown back in the late winter, early spring from tiny little stumps, and they are absolutely prolific now. If we come up the tunnel more, you will see right at the top we have got some that are absolutely supersized that I'll show you in a minute, along with this chard here. And I haven't actually been harvesting that much from this chard. It does need to come out because it is starting to run to seed, but I had to leave it in to show you guys the crazy size that these leaves have been growing to in here. They are absolutely massive. We literally harvested just one of these leaves to put into a stir fry the other day. And I can only assume that this is to do with the extra spring heat. The light levels are up in spring, and then the added heat that they're getting in the polytunnel, they've gone crazy, because it's the same with some of these cow plants in here as well. Some of these leaves are absolutely ginormous. And really interestingly, I was chatting to one of our followers on Facebook the other day, and she was saying that she grew cauliflower in her polytunnel over winter, and that she has grown the biggest head of cauliflower that she has ever grown. Now, cauliflower and broccoli is something that I struggle to grow a little bit as a head-in brassica. So I'm actually really tempted to try growing them in the polytunnel over winter and see if I can get some massive cauliflowers as well, because again, it would be a great use of this space. Every year we're finding more ways to make better use of these protected growing spaces, and particularly in the winter we are starting to play around and experiment more with crops that will be really beneficial for us, and again close up that hungry gap at the end of the winter, at the beginning of the spring. Yeah, there's just so much that you can make use of here. I've got cucumbers growing up these strings here. You can actually see there's some cucumbers forming up on this one over here. This is actually an F1 variety. Now, I tend not to grow F1s that much, but cucumbers can be a bit of a funny one. I've tried some heritage varieties. They often go a bit bitter, particularly in the polytunnels. And I've been hearing a lot about this particular variety. This is called, I think it's Pasanda F1. And I have to say, it has taken off like a rocket. In front of the cucumbers here, dotted all the way down this row as well, I've got some okra. And okra is a plant that I like to grow, a little bit of a novelty plant for us, but it goes beautifully in curries and spicy foods, and we just slice it up. It's a great thing to add diversity and a bit of fun to our plate and to our diet. Right up the top here, this is one of the ginormous kales I was just talking about. These leaves are just looking absolutely stunning and massive at the same time. You'll see here I'm letting some lettuce plants run to seed. I'm determined one year to save my own seed from lettuce, so that is what I'm trying to do. Once the seeds start forming up a little bit more, I will cut the plants off and then just hang them upside down, maybe with a bag or something underneath to collect the seed. Lettuce is something that you don't need too many plants of to collect your own seed. It doesn't cross over, I believe. So yeah, trying to give that one a go. I tried last year, but I end up getting a bit fed up with the plants being in the way, and sometimes they get cut back before they get to seeding, but we'll see how we go this year. I'm really trying to persevere. This beautiful patch of greenery here has given us more parsley than we know what to do with. I've got flat leaf parsley and then beautiful moss curly leaf parsley here. Again, it did get knocked back by the rats early in the winter. It has bounced back. I have been drying parsley. I use handfuls in literally everything that we cook. I absolutely love it. It has been an amazing crop. It has been in here all winter and we have harvested so much. I will have to take some of it out soon to create space for the Cape gooseberry, and because it's trying to run to seed here, but I think this moss parsley will keep going for a little bit longer. So yeah, hopefully we'll get some more good harvests still to come. So that is Polytunnel 1. I hope that gives you an idea of what is happening and what we've been learning from this tunnel. Let's hop next door and I will share with you what's going on in our second polytunnel. Okay, so this is Polytunnel 2. And over the winter in this tunnel, we grew 2 big rows of potatoes that we planted up at the very beginning of February, and we harvested them at the very beginning of May before we did the changeover to summer crops. And as you may have seen in our previous video, we harvested 166 pounds of new potatoes from this space in May, which again gave us an amazing crop to bridge the hungry gap, and May being that time when crops are at their fresh crops are at their least. So again, amazing use of this space. We are definitely doing that again. And actually the thing I forgot to mention next door, over winter in Polytunnel 1, we always grow a big bed of salad through the middle. The salad is sown in September. We plant it out in October. And last year we were actually harvesting small harvests of salad by November from that polytunnel, and we harvested so much salad right through until the middle of May, when we had to remove the plants to change over and put the tomatoes in. We've been doing salad for 2 or 3 years now in the polytunnel. It is something that I would not be without, and maybe this year we are talking about doing an extra row in this tunnel as well, because we would love to be able to sell some of our crops locally going forward. So winter plantings in the polytunnel are so valuable, and yeah, like I was just saying, something that we're playing with and just learning more about every year. For now, this is all of our beautiful summer crops in here. Much like the tunnel next door, the middle row is all tomatoes. We've got 21 tomato plants of a variety called Raisentrube in here, if I'm saying that correctly. It's a heritage kind of grape shape cherry tomato. We really love it. They grow and fruit absolutely prolifically. They are kind of a messier tomato, but what we find is they actually crop quite late in the year, and some years we've been harvesting the tomatoes in here, masses of tomatoes, right into November. I have got loads of them in the freezer still. They are such a valuable crop. Again, interplanted, we've got our marigolds for companion plantings. They help to ward off certain bugs. And again, they look beautiful, they bring in beneficial insects. Either side of the tomatoes in this tunnel, we've got Thai basil planted along the front here. Again, great companion plant for tomatoes. Tomatoes and basil just taste amazing together. They are things that you just have to pair up in the summer. And along this side where my feet are, we've got Genovis basil, which is a nice big leaf basil, absolutely beautiful. And then dotted down in front here is some hot chilli plants. We've also got hot chilies down this tunnel on the front edge on both sides. If you were following our journey last year, you may remember that we had a crazy amount of hot chilies in this tunnel last year. We have still got bags and bags of frozen chilies in the freezer, which we just pull out and use for cooking as we need all through the winter. I'm really happy with that because I love cooking with chilies, and the more we get used to it, the more and more we are spicing up our food, which is great. It's amazing how your taste buds change actually as you get used to certain foods and flavours. The main key ingredient for this tunnel, which makes this such a special summer growing space for us, is all of the melons that we grow in here. So on all of these strings down this side of the tunnel, we've got a mixture of beautiful melons. We've got about 4 varieties. We've got one called Woman's Collective Farm, which it kind of feels more like a honeydew melon, but it's actually still classified as a cantaloupe melon. We grow Minnesota midget. We've got a pocket melon, which is like a stripy tiger, which we grew a few years ago and we've got again now. We've got watermelons again on this side as our ground cover. We've also got an orange, I think it's an orange cantaloupe melon as well, or it might be an orange honeydew melon. We grew for the first time last year. That was really delicious. And there is one other variety which I know I'm not remembering, but hopefully it will come to me in a minute. We have also got dotted down through this polytunnel Dan's favourite taro plants. And these two here was the variety, it's an African variety that we had most success with last year in terms of the harvest. We're growing some in the tunnels and we are also growing some outside. If you would like to see more about our taro growing antics, then I will link a full video in here that we made last year. And what we're trying this year is Dan has actually managed to overwinter most of the plants. So we should be getting a head start, way ahead of what we had last year. So it's going to be super interesting to see how that affects this year's harvest compared to last year. But yeah, check out the video we made last year if you would like to see more about what we're trialling with taro. Another amazing crop that adds diversity and fun to gardening and growing. So the same as the tunnel next door, we've got our Cape gooseberries in 4 corners. These are new plants. We are still working through getting all of the wood chip back down on the bed in this tunnel. You can see here I'm on a bit of a wood chip mound, and this has got to be just spread back out. We pull the wood chip back when we change the crops over. We remulch with fresh compost. Mostly now we are getting to the stage where we're almost having enough of our homemade compost to put down, and I really think we are noticing the difference in the nutrients that this is giving our plants, because I don't know, maybe we're getting better at growing or maybe it's the compost, but everything seems to be a little bit bigger and faster and earlier this year. So yeah, I think it's the compost. The wood chip though, we pull back over the beds, particularly in these growing spaces in the polytunnels. We find that the wood chip really helps to lock the moisture in the soil, which obviously is a huge benefit. We are completely off grid when it comes to our water supply here. When it comes to everything actually, it's a completely off grid site. So we are a little bit limited with the water that we have to offer. We have good systems in place. We haven't actually completely run out yet. But we are always very mindful of how resourceful we are with our water, and we try and do our very best with it. So the wood chip really helps with that. Again, up this side of the tunnel, we have got more melons, loads of beautiful melons. I think Dan has got a couple of the trombone courgettes in here as well. We've got more chili plants. In this tunnel, we have got a mixture of a pepper called Portugal, which I grew last year and I used to make our own smoked paprika. It was a kind of medium heat chili, so it was absolutely perfect for that. We have also got a variety called Vindaloo, which is probably my favourite overall to cook with for spice in food. And I feel that there's one other variety in here as well. Dan, can you remember, is there another one in here? No, he can't remember either. I'm pretty sure there is though. We'll share more on that in another tour in the future. So that is Polytunnel 2. Oh, we did have some more taros down the bottom, which the black stem taros. Let's quickly pop down and take a look at those, because Dan absolutely loves his taro. So we'll give you a look at what they are looking like at the very end of May, and so you can follow the taro growing journey throughout the year. Is this the Hawaiian one here, Dan?
Yeah. So
yeah, this is a beautiful Hawaiian variety of taro. It is looking amazingly strong. It is growing bigger.
Like leaves as big as your whole arm, this one.
He said, if you didn't hear that, he said that this variety grows leaves as big as your whole arm apparently. So this will be one to watch later on in the year. And then down this end we've got a black stem variety of taro. You can see here that that stem is much darker than any of the others. So Dan is really enjoying just playing around with the different varieties and just having fun with it, because that is what gardening is all about after all, as well as providing yourself the most beautiful, fresh, chemical-free, naturally grown food. It is also about having fun. Dan, just remind me, what was this variety here?
That's the purple stem.
Purple stem as well. Oh, it looks a lot lighter than the other purple stem next door to it.
Black,
so,
yeah.
Oh, black stem and purple stem. I'm still learning.
One's known to make bigger corms.
So some of them produce bigger corms, which is the bit that you harvest. So yeah, I'm still learning about all of the taro as well. Dan is completely fascinated by it, so that's kind of his thing. One change that we have made in our tunnels this year, we have decided not to grow sweet potatoes in the tunnels after the issues that we had with the rats and mice coming in last year. We have still got a bit of mouse or rat activity in my tunnel that I'm noticing on the broad beans in tunnel 1 next door. They have unfortunately chewed a hole through the plastic at the back and are still coming in a little bit. But we are trialling sweet potatoes in some other ways around the property, which we will be sharing more of in future videos. So excuse me, I hope that you have enjoyed seeing what is happening in our tunnels at the very end of May, all of our summer plantings, and hearing more about how we are making the very best use of these amazing growing spaces. They help to extend the season, they give us greater protection. We are learning every year how we can provide ourselves more crops from using these amazing, valuable spaces. If you've enjoyed this video, click the thumbs up button just below, drop us any comments or questions. We love hearing from you guys. It really means a lot when we get to chat with you. Check out some of our other videos. Make sure that you are subscribed to Freedom Forest Life, and we will catch you here again soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace and plants.